On go.
Hey YouTube, what is up? Thanks for joining us live at youtube.com/attacking third for USA versus Zambia Olympics group stage match 1. A huge recap that we've got going. Darian Jenkins, Sandra Herrera, Christine Cupo, and I'm Lisa Carlin. Thank you so much for joining us. As a reminder, we are going live after every single US match for the Olympics. And we've been nominated for a People's Choice Podcast Award, Best Female Podcast. So thank you everyone for listening and voting. You can still nominate us. Go to People's Choice Podcast Awards, sign up. It only takes 60 seconds. Toggle down to the women's hosted podcasts and vote for Attacking Third. We so appreciate it. Thank you everyone for joining us live on YouTube. Initial thoughts, Darian, of this match. The U.S., they win 3-0 over Zambia. You told us not to worry about the goals.
You took the words out of my mouth. I did say, don't worry, we're going to score some goals. It's going to be okay. The only thing I am worried about is Sophia Smith. I hope homegirl's all right, because when she left the match, I think the attack stalled a bit for the U.S. A lot of the creativity came from her, but I liked it. Creating chances, putting some away, still look dangerous till the last minute. It's just a little more clinical. Those are my final thoughts.
Oh, more clinical. All right, Sandra, initial thoughts from you?
Yeah, I just can't help but kind of think back to the World Cup too. Like, there was 3-goal scoreline for Vietnam, and I think there were some good vibes there, but there was still, like Darian said, like a little bit of room for more. And I think maybe that comes with the adjustments for substitutions. Maybe sometimes that squashes some of the energy and the vibes. But look, an incredible opening goal from Rodman. Welcome back, Mal Swanson, to the international stage with 2 goals there. It's hard to not feel good about the win.
I absolutely forgot how good Mel Swanson actually is. So I feel like I should issue like a worldwide apology, because I feel like that chunk of time where she was just injured, you're like, it just evaporated. And then we see her show up for the Olympics like this. And it's like, oh, right. She's composed. She's patient. She's smart. She's clinical. And she's a little slick. I think all in, they looked much better this match. First half, especially, I'm still not satisfied with the goal scoring, because I feel like early on, Trinity getting chances completely unmarked, and also seeing Dunn just wide with that shot that she got, where, Zambia didn't really want to D up on them. So it's like, take advantage of that while you can early on. We don't know what's ahead in this tournament.
I know. I completely agree with that one. They needed more goals, especially considering how the group stage rounds out. First 2 teams in the group get through, and the U.S. has a bit of an easier path, let's just say, potentially, if they finish top of their group. Meanwhile, Germany, they picked up a 3-0 win over Australia, so they're tied at the top right now. Plenty more to talk about, and we're going to get into all of it, guys. This will be a fun episode that we get to dive into all of it. We're going to rock with it. Let's go.
Who do you have on your shirt,
Hey everyone.
Lisa?
Thank you. Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third for a very special post-United States Women's National Team Olympic match. The United States has just defeated Zambia 3-0, and we are going to recap all of it. Analysis, conversation about it, and I can't do that without my good friends, Darian Jenkins, Sandra Herrera, Christine Cupo, and I'm Lisa Carlin. Ladies, this was a heck of a way for the United States to start their Olympic tour. Match day 1, they needed goals, and they got them. Sandra, what were your reactions and response when you saw this U.S. put away 3 on Zambia? A lot to come for sure. Okay, let's dive into these starting lineups that we got, because before this match even kicked off, there were changes to the United States Women's National Team roster and the alternates that were being called in. So initially, before this match even got started, U.S. put out a statement that midfielder Jaden Shaw was unavailable for this match on the full 18 roster for the U.S. due to some leg tightness. So because of that, midfielder Croy Bethune was going to get the call up, and ultimately they would have to kind of roll out without that. So then we got to see the U.S.'s starting 11 versus Zambia. I'm going to run through it first, and then we'll get reactions. So Alyssa Nair in goal, Crystal Dunn, Tierna Davidson, Naomi Girma, and Emily Fox across the back line. In the midfield, Sam Coffey, Rose Lavelle, Lindsay Horan, and then up top, Mallory Swanson, Sophia Smith, and Trinity Rodman. Initially, Darian, we had talked a lot about the last week what was going to happen in that left back position between Jenna Nightslonger and Crystal Dunn, and Dunn gets the nod. Why? Why? Tell us why, Darian. I
Oh,
know you're
boy.
right, but tell us
Ladies,
why
I
she
don't
got
I
the
don't know.
start.
I put it out there. It happened. I'm a big manifestation. No, I'm just playing. I really think the battle between that left back position has been a lot closer than what we've originally seen. I think they both bring really different elements to the game. And what Crystal has is she's a veteran. She is so solid 1v1. And when you have the likes of Kundananji and Barbara Banda, so many other players that are technical savvy that want to isolate, like Zambia wanted to go against the US back line, I would put more of my faith in Crystal Dunn just because we've seen her go up against the best in the world in so many other major tournaments and just be so she's one of the most consistent players in the world, in my opinion. I mean, the fact that she even played left back and then switched over to right forward pretty seamlessly and nearly scored in the end is just a big testament to, I think, how important she is to this team and why she ultimately got that left back position. I also wonder if Jaden Shaw and Corey Bethune, that kind of like for like swap, but Corey Bethune being more of that solid 10 position, pushed Jenna Nyswanger up higher and pulled Crystal Dunn into that back line. So I wonder if that's something we're going to see more moving into the next matches.
Oh, I really like that shout, Darian, about the nice songer being pushed up higher, because we did see that ultimately. But with this starting 11 that rolled out, 78 caps, and one of the youngest at a world championship event, so Olympics or World Cup, that the U.S. has rolled out with since 2008 Summer Games. And there were a number of players making their debut in the starting lineup: Sam Coffey, Emily Fox, Naomi Girma, Trinity Rodman, and Sophia Smith, all making their Olympic debut. And it started incredibly fast, Christine. The opening minute of this match, it was like, okay, the U.S. is not here to mess around at all.
Yeah, I mean, I love it because I love murder ball. Why not? Like, let's go. I liked the pace. I liked the aggression. I would have liked it if we could have gotten more of those shots in the back of the net. I think that, especially looking, at least for me at this match, as are we going to be scoring those goals as promised? Are they really coming? And yes, they were. It's just that, they weren't defended hard enough for them to be missing the shots that they did have. Now, I kind of questioned whether that kind of pace was going to be sustainable for this side going to the second half. And the resounding answer was no, it wasn't. I think it was a little bit sloppier, much slower. Although I think that some of that was also strategic to just play it safe. Again, that was also against the diminished Zambia side, who unfortunately got dog sewed.
I think for me, I was looking at things defensively. I think there was a lot of emphasis going into this game on the attack, how we wanted to see these forwards score. We're so excited for this attacking trio. We want to see Rodman, Smith, and Swanson get clicking and get going. But there was also a lot of attention on Zambia, rightfully so, for Barbara Banda, who we've been watching dominate NWSL week in, week out. So I wanted to see the continuity of, the growing partnership between Girma, between Davidson. So when that 11 dropped, I'm like, this is it. Let's go. And honestly, they did what they had to do. I'm not going to say it was pretty, but they got out there and absolutely did what they had to do. I also have to maybe even shout out and piggyback a little bit on what Darian was mentioning with some of those substitutions. When you have like different players coming in across the lines, what's it going to look like? But shout out to Casey Kruger coming up with a couple really good moments down the stretch as well, because Zambia kept trying and trying and trying.
Yeah, a lot of those subs, including Casey Kruger, came in for the U.S. in the 65th minute. So second half action, a lot of changes for Emma Hayes, presumably to have a little bit of rest. It's a quick turnaround in these tournaments and a lot of matches in a short amount of days. But the first 25 minutes of this game were all the United States, absolutely dominant. And ultimately, at the end of the first 25 minutes, U.S. were up 3-0. And it had a lot to do with the front runners for the United States and their mindset and how they were continuously going to be attacking. When you have Swanson in the midfield that can drop deep, sometimes even lower than Rose Lavelle, who was technically playing in the midfield, and then you have Sophia Smith, who is pulled and tucked over. They're playing really close together with Rodman isolated in the right wing in the wide channel. That just created a lot of space on the left for Crystal Dunn to get forward and to continuously run into the box. And we had 2 crossbar opportunities in the opening 15 minutes of this match, Rodman and Swanson. And D, I'm not going to lie. First 15 minutes, I was like, oh no, is this going to be reminiscent of what we saw against Costa Rica, where
You
the
weren't
U.S.
alone.
create so well and they can come so close off the crossbar? But that wasn't the case at all, Darian. That wasn't.
No, ladies, it was a warm up. That match was a warm up for the Olympics. We know that they were unlucky not to score. They should have done better. I agree, but I mean, they came in with the sauce the first 25 minutes. Yes, they lost it after that, in my opinion, quite a bit. I think there was a big drop off after Swanson's second goal. But the combination play, the exploitation of spaces, Sophia Smith looked like a bully at times, just rolling defenders off of her. Her ball control was pristine. I thought Lindsay Horan's vision was great, and Rodman making this brilliant run, really cheeky little back heel touch, and then the finish. I jumped off of my couch. I was so excited. It's just a brilliant team goal. And I think the other two were also reminiscent of the first one, where they were exploiting space. They looked dynamic. They were all really hungry to score. And for it to finally happen, I think we've all been holding our breath, like Lisa said, just waiting for them to put some away. I think it's a good another little tease of hopefully what's to come in the tournament, knowing that they can break teams down. They are gelling, especially in that middle to attacking half. For them, it was really good to see them finally put some away. And I think that's going to give them a lot of confidence moving forward.
Trinity Rodman opens the scoring for the United States in the 17th minute. It was a beautiful, beautiful build-up play. Mallory Swanson down the left flank, who finds Horan centrally, and Horan's vision to slide Rodman through. Rodman with 2 defenders on, doesn't matter. That's cake. Spins out and scores the goal. It was a great shot by Rodman, and then Swanson responds again in the 24th minute to double the USA's lead. Again, the assist from Lindsay Horan to Swanson, and the first touch for Swanson creates a little chip ball in and over the goal. 66 seconds later, Mallory Swanson does it again, right off the kickoff for the United States, Christine. We have missed Mallory Swanson at the international level, and she has proved in just the span of 66 seconds, if not for her entire play leading up to us, that she is at the international level. She is ready to go, perhaps wanting the golden boot as well, Chris, a little.
Listen, I couldn't even get through my first goal jubilation. She went and canceled it and scored another goal. I over processed everything. I was running around in circles. It's wonderful to see. And I think that, regular club duty, she's been on fire. And obviously those fires are stoked by a player like Banda. So when you have the opportunity on the world stage to sort of, keep at it, you're going to pull a brace. You're Mel Swanson. You can do whatever you want. Now, it's wildly impressive. And we are very, very lucky to have her back. I'd say at 110%. She'll be a massive contributor. But also Trinity Rodman breaking her goal drought after so much time, I think will be a massive confidence boost. You could see the frustration on her today because you could see how much she wanted at least a second goal. But I think this is good. Everything's moving in the positive trajectory for our top line, and the chemistry is beautiful. Smile. It's nice to see players who love playing together.
Yeah, they looked like they were clicking and just finding each other. But for Mallory Swanson, 2 goals, a brace in 66 seconds. That's the fastest for a single player in major tournament U.S. women's national team history. That was all the positives for the United States. And it felt like the seesaw was going to continue to move in favor of the U.S. because 32nd minute, between the 30th, 32nd, Zambia gets a yellow card, and then they go to VAR. It's the first check of the game that we see. And ultimately, defender for Zambia, Pauline Zulu, ends up getting a straight red card for dog. So poor girl, honestly, like she just lost it, breaking down. And at this point, Sandra, Zambia is now trying to climb themselves out of a 3-0 deficit against the United States, and they have to play down a player. You felt like it was like, okay, just get to the halftime when this happened for Zambia.
Yeah, you're already down 3 goals, right? Mal Swanson doing what she's doing at this point. I appreciate Cupo keeping it real and saying, "That's my bad. I forgot about Mal Swanson at the international level." Well, she's back. She's so back. She couldn't be more back if she had a time machine, right? So it's a tough position to be in, to not only concede 3 goals, but concede them in the way that they did. These these were beautiful goals. Some of them clinical. I've already talked about them enough, but as far as the mental state at this point, you want to try to get to halftime to reset. And they went to VAR on this. So there's a little bit of a moment where you're like, what exactly are they looking at? What could possibly happen? And then to come out of it, I think initially a lot of us were like, okay, it's going to be outside the box free kick. But to come back and say, further review, dog show, the way they were finishing, this was clearly a denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity. And you could see it in the body language in the face and what that does to this team. Because not only is this player out for the remainder of this game, we'll miss the next game. I mean, we're talking about a group stage that only has 3 matches. So it's tough to not only come down from 3 goals, but to also have that deficit and be down a player as well. And there's an argument to be made, though, that maybe they didn't necessarily struggle with that 100% because we did not see the United States kind of take advantage of that scenario.
Ooh,
In
I
that
like
same
that.
vein, Zambia looked dangerous at big opportunities. I thought Gurma did so well handling Banda. That was shout out. Look, check out Carlin's shirt. Hold it up.
I get my answer now. Who's on the shirt? Okay.
Whoa.
U.S.
Okay,
player of
Irma.
the year. I had to rock it. She had such a good game, Darian. She did.
She was fantastic. She is a player that when you're going against her, she's so frustrating to play against because she's just patient. She does not bite at all. She doesn't try to stab at you to make you go a certain way. She just leads you to exactly where she wants and then gets just a little touch that screws up your entire plan. The moment you want to get a shot off, the moment you're trying to make a pass. I also thought Davidson had a good game. She had moments where she really took the team on her back and made some last-ditch tackles. And shout out to Casey Kruger. I know somebody already did, but that in the last couple minutes of the game where she took down Kundanaji, blocked her shot after just being in the 18, getting a shot off is impeccable. I'm glad she got some minutes in this match, but defensively, I thought we did really well against Zambia, but credit to Zambia for not letting that completely shut them down and just go into a awful low block that none of us really want to see more of in this tournament. And they still tried to attack.
With 55 minutes for Zambia to play down a player, they didn't look that bad. They competed. They were going hard into tackles. They had to shift a bit formationally. There were some subs that came from Mwape, the head coach for Zambia, to kind of solidify things defensively. But the game plan for Zambia looked really, really good. We're going to talk about it and how the United States maybe didn't live up to all the potential that they could have had, considering they were going up against their competition already 3 goals in and then playing against someone that went down a man on that team. A lot more to talk about with this side. The U.S., they defeat Zambia 3-0 in match day 1 of the Olympic Games in their group. They get a lot of points in this one, goals coming from Trinity Rodman, and then the fastest breaks in U.S. women's national team major tournament history by Mallory Swanson, all in the first 25 minutes for the United States. Don't go anywhere, though. We are breaking down what went wrong in the second half for the United States. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. U.S. in match day 1 at the Olympics defeat Zambia 3-0, goals from Rodman and a brace from Swanson. There were some changes that came at the end of the first 45 minutes. Unfortunately, U.S. forward Sophia Smith did go down a bit of a right ankle injury. She was taken off the match and led back into the tunnel. So we had Lynn Williams forward sub on for the U.S. Then there was halftime, the U.S. up 3-0. But Darian, there were a change perhaps that Emma Hayes wasn't expecting to make that early in the match. How did the Swanson Williams sub and the second half look so different than the first 25-30 minutes for the U.S.?
These two players aren't like for like necessarily. I think Smith likes to check deeper, work on the ball. She likes to turn she does really well with pressure on her back and how she's able to turn and connect. Lynn Williams is much more of a direct player, in my opinion. She's a little bit more of a true 9 where she can poach in the box. She's looking for crosses. She had a couple opportunities where I think she could have got a little bit more on it, but it's hard when you come into a match like that and try to get up to speed that quickly and really gel with the team who had a lot of chemistry, especially in the first 25 minutes before Sophia Smith had to go out, unfortunately. But they still look dangerous. I think the game plan doesn't fit Williams necessarily to her best strengths. I think if she's going to be the one that's the next in line for the number 9, or has that position going forward, there needs to be some sort of adjustment that complements her a little bit more, because I don't think that what they were asking her to do is necessarily her biggest strength, but just checking deep, turning defenders. She's much more of a poacher, in my opinion. So I think that's where the drop off happened a little bit. There was a little bit lack of connectivity in the middle to attacking third once that happened. And I think we kind of saw that similarly to the subs later in the half. But I do think moving forward, we'll see that adjustment so that the team works to her strengths and everybody else can work off of that, because that 9 position is so crucial for the way this women's national team plays.
The way the U.S. do want to play with that 9 is very much almost like a dual 9 with the double player and isolating Rodman. It changes, though, depending on who was in that role and who was going to rotate. We also saw another sub at halftime for Emma Hayes, Korbin Albert in for Rose Lavelle, who perhaps on some minute restriction just to keep her healthy, and despite the scoreline, Rose Lavelle being taken out. But ultimately, I want to jump ahead to the 65th minute for this U.S. side, because that's when a lot of the subs came in and changed things. Casey Kruger came in, Jenna Knightswanger, and Emily Sonnet, taking out Trinity Rodman, Lindsay Horan, and one more. Why can't I think right now off the top of my head? There's another one.
They used all the subs.
Exactly. They used
right?
all of them. I'm like, hold on, I can't think right now. But that changed a lot of the formation and players moving around, Sandra, when all these subs came in. So who changed the game? Who helped kind of dictate play in the second half when the U.S. was losing steam?
Oh, Lisa, you set me up. I don't know. I think I'm gonna keep it real here, because I don't know if anyone did out of all the subs. That's something that happens in soccer, though. Honestly, like, you make those adjustments and sometimes they don't pan out. And I think maybe that's part of that question mark coming out of the game, where folks are going to maybe look at that second half and say, what were the missed opportunities here? And why didn't the subs maybe get more ball, or at least get one more in the back of the net for this team? I think there's also an argument to be made to take a look at the subs that were placed in. And I think there's going to be questions around whether or not players were able to take advantage of that opportunity. We had a moment in the ahead of the game where there was an alternate boosted up in Croy Bethune to the bench in light of an injury to Jaden Shaw, and she didn't make it into the match. But when we're thinking about like for like swaps and in player in that very first substitution for Rose Lavelle, they went with Korbin Albert. And I think you have to take a look a little bit at this first game, the opposition that's in front of you. As much respect as we have for Banda in Zambia on paper in terms of numbers, this was a game that people expected this team to win. And so if you're getting into a game against a team that the expectation is to win, and you already have a lead and you're coming in as a substitute, that means that your job is to affect and impact the game. And I don't know if we necessarily saw that in the 45 minutes of Korbin Albert, or maybe the 25 minutes from Emily Sonnet or Jenna Nice. I think a few moments where, they obviously came up big. Darian mentioned a really good one with Casey Kruger, coming down the stretch and having covered a lot of ground, and Jenna Neishwanger getting in a position to serve up a ball. But I don't know if I'm looking at any of those particular 5 subs and saying this player came in here and absolutely took over the game and dominated. I don't know if that actually happened. So you saw it too, I think, a little bit in the body language, like Lynn Williams missing a chance, and the fact that there might have been a little bit of frustration there. But I think there's also going to be that silver lining of the fact that they got in there. It's game 1. Let's kick some of that tournament rust off and look ahead to next game.
Ladies, I have a question. If Rose Lavelle is out of a match, so, she's on minute restriction, who knows what that means moving forward? This is a player whose health we're always worried about, that muscle tightness or whatever's going on. Do you think we have somebody next up, especially with Shaw being out, that can still that same creativity as
Cupo, don't just say no.
Absolutely not. And I think that's part of the biggest deficiency with this squad is, and I see you all in the chat. I just want you to know, I see your comments and I see you criticizing Horan and saying she's slow, she's whatever. Here's my take on this, right? The reason that this works is because Horan is more foundational, right? She kind of dictates things. Even when we have coffee behind her, I'd say she's boring, but like good boring, right? Predictable boring. We have Rose, who's the most creative player, and we need her so badly to be that sort of creation point in the midfield for that top line to continue to perform. And I think that works optimally when everybody's healthy. When you have an injured Rose, which God help us, I hope that she is 100% through this tournament. We're working at a significant disadvantage and we do not have another player. And I would say, okay, you could put like a Jaden Shaw in there and see what you can do. But now we have questions about Jaden Shaw. So I'm a little worried.
Lisa, how do you feel about it?
I'm not that worried. I think that it will change the way that the U.S. plays. But if Rose Lavelle isn't healthy, there are different players that can slide into that role. Mallory Swanson can drop deeper. We can shift up the formation that the U.S. is playing. So to have more creative players on the field centrally, that includes Swanson. I think Croy Bethune is another really good swap in who, if there are injuries, she can be called up from the alternate position onto the full roster and slot into that type of role to be a creator on the ball. Yes, Christine, there is going to be a ripple down effect if Lavelle isn't there, because Horan has to have a bit more creativity on her. Mallory Swanson also has to be a player that can take on a little bit more of that responsibility. And it's not going to be as fluid of a rotation between Lavelle and Swanson then, because it's not going to be Lavelle in there. But the U.S. can do it. Emma Hayes has built this roster specifically for that reason. That's why we saw Jenna Neiswanger higher up the pitch when she came on in the 65th minute.
And I do love a high Neiswanger. I do. She sends beautiful crosses into the box. I love that for us. But all right, maybe I just am a little bit more affectionate toward Rose. And I'm like, no, we need her.
Ooh, Darian, what do you think?
I don't think we have the same like for like. If anyone comes in, I would say Corey Bethune needs to play. I don't think anybody has the same vision or ability to slip passes and kind of buzz around in the same way that Rose does. I mean, they're different players, but I think they have similar qualities. And I think Corey Bethune is somebody that can do that because she just has that fight. We've seen she handles pressure really well. I think she could come in and do it. I mean, she nearly scored on her debut with 7 minutes of playing time. So imagine if she got 30, 60, played a full 90. I think that's a player that we need to keep our eye on, especially with Shaw being out. That's somebody that I think can fill in and be that creative piece, because I don't think Albert, yes, she's a great sub. I think she has great work rate. She brings qualities that are good, more so defensively. We need somebody that allows the front line of the U.S., which is our biggest strength, to be free and not worry so much about coming back or have to overwork that takes them away from those dangerous positions. So I would love to see Croy get some minutes in this tournament. If that's the sub for Rose, I think that's the match.
Potential. She was on the 18 for this roster. However, U.S. being up 3-0 at halftime, Hayes might have wanted to shift a bit more defensive and make sure that that's not happening. But you're also going up against a Zambian side with only 10. Oh, it's a sticky situation. However, I do think we will see Croy at some point in this tournament. Don't go anywhere. We are going to chat Emma Hayes' international debut and players that stood out to us right after this quick break. Welcome back to Attacking Third. The U.S. defeat Zambia 3-0, and Emma Hayes utilized all of her subs, all 5 that came into the match, 16 players seeing the field against Zambia. And I want to chat player of the match, Sandra. I'm going to start with you. For the U.S., who's your woman of the match?
I mean, hands down, it's got to be Mal Swanson. I think it's the obvious choice, but it's also the clearest choice. 2 goals. We're talking what, an 8-year absence from the Olympics. This is a player who bursted onto the U.S. Women's National Team program during that 2016 Rio Olympics. The OG disappointment, right? The Olympics where they bombed out of the knockout rounds and did not medal. And she's worked her way back all the way to this moment, having missed out on that Tokyo roster, was part of that 2019 World Cup team, but even then was not a starter for that World Cup team, was considered that part of that next gen up and coming roster. Her and Tierna Davidson, I believe they only got a group match against Chile then. And now to have missed out on Tokyo, to have gone from a couple teams in NWSL, and now back from an injury, major. And it's really great to see a player who has maybe, as I just highlighted, gone through maybe a lot more lows and highs in her professional career to kind of have this reintroductory type of moment. So player of the game, hands down.
Christine, who's yours?
I mean, I would have gone Swanson. No, I'm going Gurma. I'm going Gurma. Composed, efficient, great read. She absolutely locked down that back line today, whether it be Banda or Kundananji, including but not limited to throwing her whole body to make sure that she was breaking up these plays. She's just so good and mature, patient. Just I don't know. She's absolutely one of the best defenders we've ever had for the US. Easily.
Yeah. I like that. You gave
Same.
the shout to Gurma.
Retweet.
Is she yours too, D?
Yeah, Gurma was mine. Highest pass completion percentage, 96.3% by any women's player in the Olympics since 2012. Shout out Adriana. Thank you for that stat. But Gurma, even without her prowess in possession, her ability, like I said earlier, her patience in defending, her 1v1, the way she's able to organize the back line, her last ditch tackling, how she reads the game, how she helps the team build out. There's qualities where we fangirl over Gurma nearly every show, every game that we cover her, whether it's for club or country. But I think showing that even in the Olympics, where there's this immense pressure, all eyes are on the US, especially even from us critically defensively. How are they going to handle Banda? How are they going to handle these teams that are really going to ask questions of them and challenge them that we didn't see in the lead up into the Olympics? And I think she stood up to the challenge and came out with flying colors. She was absolutely player of the match for me. Carlin, do you agree? Do we have 3 for Gurma?
Darian, I'm not wearing player of the year name Gurma shirt for nothing. Of course.
I just needed to hear it.
My player of the match. It was her defensive efforts against Barbara Banda. Week in and week out, D, we talk about how is anyone in the NWSL going to stop Barbara Banda? And Naomi Gurma did that. Yes, she had a lot of support from her teammates and the defenders around her, but Gurma was patient. She was focused. She had quick feet. Her agility was top notch to swivel her hips and stay in a really good defensive positioning against Banda. And it was her start positioning against Banda and her timing of the tackles of when she was going to step in front that eliminated Barbara Banda from this match. The chances that Zambia ultimately got and took in front of goal on Alyssa Nair weren't threatening. They weren't. And it is because of Naomi Gurma. Hands down, she is the player of the match for me and for 3 of us. But I like the honorable mention. Shout out, Sandra, for you, for Mallory Swanson, who ended up with a brace for the United States. Head coach Emma Hayes, she becomes the first U.S. women's national team coach to win a first major tournament match by 3 goals or more, and she did it with such composure. We only got to see Hayes at the helm of the U.S., Darian, for 3 or 4 matches for the U.S. before this international tournament. How do you grade her performance as a head coach in the Olympics so far?
I'd give her an A. I would give her an A. The only why there's not an A plus is because I don't feel, as Sandra said, the subs were effective enough. I don't know if it was the personnel, the qualities of players that she was bringing in that didn't match what the game needed. They should have scored more. Zambia was down to 10 players. They were giving massive pockets of space that the U.S. could have taken much more advantage of. But I think in all, for her first real high pressure game with the US in the freaking Olympics, she did well. 3-0. And you can tell the players are thriving under her. I think we're seeing players look like they're back to themselves where they're having fun. When you think about when you're a kid playing club soccer and you're just there to vibe and show your qualities on the pitch and score some goals. That's how they looked, at least for the first 30 minutes of the first half. And I just can't wait to see more of it. So A for me.
Yeah,
Sandra,
I'm with you. Look, I had to do for .com. You can go check them out. I got to do ratings. That includes Emma Hayes as well in this category. And I would stick with the A as well. Maybe not the plus for the same reasons as the substitutions, but I do have that sub question of, okay, so you made these subs and maybe they weren't as effective, but was that your priority in making these substitutions? Was it more just closing out this game? And was it more about load management for these players in an Olympic Games that's going to be very, very quick for them? So if it's the latter, which I'm thinking it might be, I'm sticking with the A for Emma Hayes.
All right, we're going to go with the class average here, Christine, and give everyone some A's because we got to go to break right now. But I like that class average. Don't go
We're on a
anywhere,
curve.
though, because the U.S., they take on Germany next, and they are big competition. That is going to be a tough one to beat in this group. Don't go anywhere. We are chatting the U.S.'s next competition in Germany when we get back. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. The U.S. are in their Olympic group with Zambia, who they defeated 3-0, and then Germany and Australia. Earlier today in match day 1, Germany took on Australia, and ultimately the Germans got the 3-0 win over Australia. So as the standings have it in Group B, Germany is technically ahead of the United States right now, but they are both tied on goal differential at 3. Goals scored 3, and each Germany and the United States have 1 yellow card each. So they're really just tied at the top of the standings. A lot of what's going to come down to at the end of the group stage is getting out is who's first and who's second. The top 2 teams in each group plus the 2 best third place teams of the tournament advance. But let's talk a little about Germany against Australia, because this match happened earlier today on match day 1, Thursday, July 25th. And Germany got the win, and they did it in a pretty dominating way, Sandra, over the Australians. 3 goals for the Germans and a shutout. What did you notice about Germany?
No Oberdorf, no problem. I think, look, you don't ever want to boil soccer down to one player, but I think in the performance that we saw today from Swanson, one of my reactions in our work chat was the fact that she was such a detrimental loss ahead of the World Cup. And I think today is just a reminder of that reason why. And I think when you think of Germany and we saw that Oberdorf was not going to be available for the Olympics, you wondered, oh boy, that's going to open up a massive hole in that midfield. But I believe in Jill Brand, and I'm glad that I do, because I think she had an incredible game today for Germany. And I think it's not so much about the question of wow, look how good Germany did without Oberdorf. I think it's more like what's Australia got going on moving forward, because to have that type of opening match after you have been a bit of a contender yourself on global championship stages is a little concerning, I think, to put it lightly. This is a team that has had 3 fourth place finishes now, I think, at different competitions, and to not be able to kind of build on that. You want to have that good first game, and you definitely want to have that good first game against another contender, and that did not happen today for them. Germany absolutely putting to rest any doubts around them moving forward in this competition.
Christine, what do you make of this match?
It ended up being a really solid German attack and counter, and unfortunately, Australia, Catley and Ford had moments of brilliance together, but they just couldn't get anything to come to fruition, and that really faded quickly. I just feel like Australia seemed to realize the futility of a lot of it. They just were outmatched.
Yeah.
I feel Germany they took advantage of what Australia was giving them. I mean, to come in and lose 3-0 when you're Australia, I had much higher expectations. Did I think they would win this match? Not necessarily, but 3-0. And if you go and look at the goals from especially Schuler, the first two, Hegering and Schuler, set pieces, just a lack of marking. What, you're playing Germany. The first thing you should be
all they
doing
do.
is bodying people
Yeah.
on set pieces. You should be
Tough
setting
game.
screens. You should be stomping on feet. You should pulling jerseys on the side of the person that you're defending so that they can't get a leg up on you, because that is how Germany got into the game, was on the set pieces. I think it was a lack of, there were mental lapses for Australia. They weren't so bought in or focused on those set pieces. And to me, it's the Olympics, that you're playing Germany. That's something very fixable on your end. So I hope moving forward we see them tighten up there. But again, in the attack, I thought Ellie Carpenter did well. I thought Steph Catley got the ball high, but there still wasn't enough for me for Australia to see that they could win the Olympics, let alone medal, in my opinion.
Yeah, getting out of the group for Australia is going to be a much steeper uphill climb for them than I think a lot of us thought 2 days ago when we did an Olympics preview coming into this. Australia struggled to get anything on goal in the first half. They just couldn't complete passes. They had poor touches. Their passes were off their marks. It was a little sloppy. The decision making was really slow for Australia. And although Germany did win and get 3 goals in on Australia, they should have had more, probably. And I think perhaps Germany is also saying that about the United States, right?
Mhm.
Trinity Rodman had a header she should have scored. Crystal Dunn had one at the end of the game. She probably should have scored.
Lynn
So
Williams had one too.
Yeah.
easily.
She had one in the beginning of the game too, done. So I mean, and that was unmarked. There were a lot of goals that they let go. That's probably my biggest bone to pick with the US today. I think in terms of Australia, the other layer of surprise for me is that they had been dealing with injuries for quite some time, and they actually have, outside of Sam Kerr, an entirely healthy squad that they fielded as their starting 11. So the underperformance was a little bit wild for me, at least.
Australia, they will have a chance to rebound before they take on the United States, because Australia takes on Zambia in match day 2 of the group stage. But United States is going up against Germany. That match is on Sunday, and it will be a big one in the group. Who gets out on top and who doesn't? And we're going to break that down, because Germany had a lot of moments where they looked dangerous. There was also some holes in their play as well. And we're going to talk about how the U.S. can capitalize in their match day 2 Olympics match against Germany when we get back. Don't go anywhere. Hey, welcome back to Attacking Third. The U.S. defeat Zambia 3-0 in match day 1 at the Olympics. However, their next competition is against Germany Sunday, July 28th, 3 p.m. Eastern, and the Germans are also coming off of their very own 3-0 win over Australia. This is a big meeting between these two sides because they have met so many times. Most recently, though, in November of 2022, when the U.S. defeated Germany 2-1. That match was just an international friendly. Now there's a lot more on the line for these sides. Christine, I'm going to start with you. For the U.S., they are coming off this win over Zambia, but they have to continue to build and hit their peak at these Olympics. What do you need to see from Emma Hayes' side against Germany?
I think I'd like to see cleaner passes, more shots on target. There's a lot of goals that we left on the table, as I previously mentioned. I think the back line is doing great. I think the starting lineup that we had today, at least that back line would be really efficient against Germany, but they also have a lot of talent. So you're going to be looking at like new skin, trying to swoop in there, who's had a really good prior season for club. They have a really strong counterattack too. So they're going to be looking to exploit every single possible error that the US could make. And I feel like they just need to tighten everything up going into Germany. So refinements again.
Yeah, a lot of fine tuning and fine tweaking. Darian, let's go offensively. Germany's got Ann Katrenberger, who is defending like no other in between the sticks and in goal for Germany. She's also trying to get some assists and start the transition. So, what is going to be key for the U.S. offensively against Germany?
They're going to have to capitalize when Germany goes high. And my prediction for the match is Germany's going to make it ugly. The U.S. has been playing very beautiful soccer. They have majority possession. They're bouncing the ball around. There's slip passes. I think Germany's going to come in and hit hard and try to mess that up. And when that happens, there's going to be pockets to exploit in the Germans' back line. I think there's going to be those spaces where our forwards can attack. But most importantly, our midfielders are going to be able to exploit the weakened midfield of Germany and look to attack from there. I think it's going to have to happen quickly. You can't let this German team recover and try to hit you again because they will. I don't think it's going to be nearly as easy and as beautiful as we saw against Zambia. And we're going to have to be much more clinical. You have to put away those open headers, those shots that hit the crossbar, the ones that soared over the bar. I think we're going to have to be so much more clinical and then defend for our lives, because if I'm Germany, I'm looking to transition quickly. I'm looking to hit hard, put the ball over the top, get fouls, get some set pieces, and capitalize on that because they are so unstoppable in those set piece positions. And I want to see the US get challenged in that in the same vein. So my prediction for the game actually is history repeating itself. I think the US will win 2-1, but I think the Germans are going to get something off of a set piece.
Yeah, I mean, in their last match for Germany against Australia, they had 7 corners and they scored 2 of their goals on them. Sandra, how do
Yeah.
they defend that? How does the U.S. Try to limit those set pieces and corner kick goals for Germany?
Yeah, that defensive back line is going to have to buckle up for sure. But I'm going to make the argument that it's also going to start in that middle third as well. I think this is going to be the actual test of that midfield. I think what we were looking at against Zambia, noticing how Lindsay Horan can be that connector when she's a little bit higher, and then asking questions around Rose Lavelle. Maybe that minute that substitution was made more for match load. You want to have what you're considered your ideal starting midfielders going up against what are going to be probably your biggest rivals for first place in this group. So what's it going to look like? There's been a ton of emphasis on the fact that there's no Oberdorf in that midfield for Germany. What's it going to look like? How are they going to look like when they go up against the United States side that are maybe asking some of those questions of themselves as well? So yes, of course, it's going to need to buckle up on the back line and on set piece defending, but I think it's going to be really important for those midfielders to have that defensive recognition and be a little bit more quicker with their defensive awareness on the pitch when it comes to those set pieces, because I really do feel like Germany's going to try to win as many of those as they can.
Oh, yeah. In the opening minute, I imagine Germany's going to try to get in line and create set pieces. I'm really interested to watch the battle of Jewel Brand and what she can do down that right flank, because against Australia, Britain was electric. She was getting in behind, her counterattacking intuition was really looking good. Long balls through to her. She wanted to be isolated with defenders, and that's the side that the U.S. sends forward. Whether it's Dunn or Neiswanger, there's going to be a gap there potentially for Germany to exploit. Maybe they've been watching that in film and look to practice it a little against Australia. But if Jewel Brand is on point in this game for Germany against the United States, it's going to be dangerous. They're going to have to look to be a little bit different in behind there. Okay, Sandra, I want to know from you if you've heard from Emma Hayes, any updates on injuries from Sophia Smith or Jaden Shaw as we look ahead to this U.S. match against Germany?
Yeah, shout out to all our colleagues on the ground in France. It sounds like Hayes herself doesn't have an actual update on Smith at this moment, but both she and Shaw are going to get evaluated in camp in Marseille. So fingers crossed, I guess, that we're all waiting alongside Emma Hayes for an update there.
Oh, we'll see. Okay, Darian, you gave us your score prediction 2-1 to the U.S. Quickly, Christine and Sandra, I want to hear yours. Christine, I'll start with you.
I think it's going to honestly be a slugfest. I think they're going to give them hell. I guess I have to go 2-1 just because I feel like the US will pull this off, but it's not going to be pretty, especially given that Germany will not be giving them the space that Zambia gave them to shoot. So I think we'll get far fewer shots off, and hopefully that are more efficient in goal scoring.
We'll see. Sandra, what about you?
I'm going 1-0 Germany.
Oh, 1-0
Ooh.
Germany. I'm going to go 1-0 United States. I think Alyssa Nair brick wall doesn't let any in past her. We'll see, though. The U.S. takes on Germany, 3 p.m. Sunday, July 28th. We'll be live with you on YouTube and Golazo Network, but the U.S. defeats Zambia 3-0 in their opening match day at the Olympics.